Natal Venus retrograde. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down natal Venus retrograde in detail, what it means to have your natal Venus retrograde, and important takeaways. Make sure you stick around all the way to the end because I'm really going to be breaking this down in detail. All right, let's discuss natal Venus retrograde and what this means. So when you have natal Venus retrograde, you were born when transit Venus was retrograde. Okay, this is what this means, is that when you were born, when you took your first breath, Venus was retrograde at that time. Venus represents the things that we value, our self-esteem, love, money, and relationships, right? Retrograde represents a time period of reflecting and reassessing matters. Okay, so Venus, let's go over this again. Venus has to do with our values, the things that we value, our self-esteem, love, money, and relationships. Retrograde represents a time period of reflecting and reassessing matters. Having natal Venus retrograde, it makes you reflect on your values and what your true values are a lot, right? Because Venus represents our values, the things that we value. Retrograde is a period of reflecting and reassessing. So when you have this, having natal Venus retrograde, it makes you reflect on your values and what your true values are a lot more than the average person. It matters more what sign and house your natal Venus retrograde is in. For example, someone with Venus in Aries in the 4th house retrograde. Okay, so the retrograde is important, but really what's more important is the sign and house that the natal Venus retrograde is in. Okay, so like, for example, someone who has Venus in Aries in the 4th house retrograde. This is someone that values themselves. They value putting themselves first. They value being a pioneer. They value being a risk taker. But now you have Venus in the 4th house, so they also value family. So if someone wants to have this placement, they're going to spend their lives reflecting on what it means to be selfish and put yourself first as it relates to family. And how do you make that work? How do you put yourself first and still value family at the same time? So you see how this works is that you have to look at what each one says and then put it together as it relates to reassessing and reflecting on these matters throughout the native's entire life. This is something that they're going to spend a lot of time reflecting on and trying to make sense of. So when I see someone with this placement, I know that they're going to spend their lives reflecting on how can I be selfish and put myself first and still value family at the same time. And a lot of their experiences are going to test them and challenge them and their abilities to do this, their abilities to put themselves first and value family at the same time. Your values get tested a lot through your relationship experiences and your experiences with money. When you have natal Venus retrograde, your values get tested a lot through your relationship experiences and your experiences with money. You have an unconventional approach towards building your self-esteem and towards love, money, and relationships. Okay, when you have natal Venus retrograde, not only do your values get tested a lot through your relationship experiences and your experiences with money, you have a unconventional approach towards building your self-esteem. Venus rules our self-esteem, and towards love, money, and relationships. Okay, so you don't approach these matters in the typical way. This does not mean that you're doomed as far as love and relationships. It means that you need to spend a lot of time reflecting on what your true values are in life and don't settle for anything or anyone that doesn't resonate with those values. Always be building and improving your self-esteem organically. A lot of times when people find out that they have their Venus in retrograde and they study on it, quite a bit, they feel like, oh man, I'm doomed. I'm never going to be happy. I'm never going to be in a relationship. That's not true. That is not true at all. What this means is that you need to spend a lot of time reflecting on what your true values are. And then after you figure out what your true values are, don't compromise on them. Like, for example, if like the example I gave before, someone who has their Venus in Aries, if you truly value putting yourself first, if you truly value someone being in a relationship with someone with Aries energy, someone has that masculine, pioneer, active, just full of high energy type of person, if that's what you truly value, then don't settle for anything that doesn't align with that. If you truly value family, if you truly value the whole concept of having a family, then you should not be with someone who doesn't value family as much as you do. You see? So that's really the main important thing with Venus retrograde, is that you have to figure out what your values are and don't compromise on your values. Don't let anyone break your self-esteem down. Again, remember, Venus has a lot to do with self-esteem. And when you have this placement, when you have natal Venus retrograde, your self-esteem gets challenged a lot. And you have to learn how to build your self-esteem and don't let anyone tear your self-esteem down at all. Celebrity example, Amy Winehouse and Drake. Now, with Amy Winehouse, it was very easy to see that she had her Venus retrograde because you can tell that she had a lot of difficulty as far as love and relationships because she sang about it all the time in her songs. A lot of her songs had heavy themes of heartbreak, right? And the thing is that remember, it doesn't mean because a person with, and it's so funny because one of her songs is called Love is a Losing Game. So you can see that her attitude towards love is she probably did feel doomed. She probably felt like, nothing goes my way as far as love. It just always ends up in heartbreak and pain. But the problem is that's not true. What she should have done is spent a lot of time reassessing and reflecting on what her true values are and don't compromise. The problem is when people have their natal Venus retrograde, they tend to compromise. They know the person they're with is not aligned with their values and they date them anyway. You can't do that because you're going to end up regretting it and you're going to end up feeling like you're doomed. So that's your fault. It's your fault if you compromise on your values when you know you shouldn't be. And as far as Drake, it's very easy to tell that Drake has his Venus in retrograde as well, because Drake has it. A lot of his songs have to do with love and heartbreak as well. And you can tell in his music that he's the type of person where he's been very bitter and like he's kind of like scorned and bitter as far as love, like as far as the things that he talks about. So you can tell that he has spent, through his experiences, he's had to learn how to overcome heartbreak. He's had to learn how to build his self-esteem and how to, analyze what are my true values? What do I really value in relationships? If you look at his interviews, he always you can tell he spent a lot of time reflecting on what he really needs as far as love, relationships, and money. All right. So email me if you still have more questions. And if you still don't understand, my email is astrologyztv@gmail.com. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Take care.